This is Scotland, land among the British landscape, up the northern part of Great Britain. Scotland had its distinct areas too, the lowlands, highlands and the islands, especially their islands. The lowlands has its farms and thick woodlands. The highlands had its towering mountains, sweeping woodlands and deep lochs. Its islands had wild landscapes, beautiful beaches, and culture. It's famous of its whiskey, bagpipes, and subject to extreme weather. But let's take it back a notch. Let's go back to the time in where the story starts. 1870. In the city of Nottingham was the pretty witch lengthyman called Ezekiel, who retired early and spent his riches. He moved away to Scotland, away from the busy, noisy cities of Britain and the hustle and bustle of trains, to a small village in Scotland in the Highlands. A small village called Leilson, stuffed away from any outside connections. When he arrived to Leilson, he was greeted with open arms with the village's people, and on the same day, a celebration happened to celebrate the new arrival of the new village member. Throughout the next 3 years of the small village, nothing really changed. Until the news about new transport called steam engines came to their knowledge. This was old news. This was in the 19th century. But the village was delighted. But it was also delighted that in one day they could possibly get more goods and their self to other places without the usage of horse and carriage. And speaking of goods, we need to introduce another man. Lewa Dixon. Yes, that's his name. Please deal with it. Lewa Dixon was the owner of Dixon Limited, a iron quarry only 6 miles from the village of Leilson. When Lewa discovered a rich lengthyman living in Leilson, he travelled to the village and met Ezekiel and to discuss a future partnership. He discovered a building a railway from Lewa's quarry to a junction that would connect to the outside world. And so, the Leal and Highland Railway was formed. And started building the railway in 1873, and they were able to connect with the Caledonian Railway to deliver their iron and such other goods. 1874 was sought an agreement to start working on the Leal and Highland Railway. Originally it was going to be a horse tram line, but the villagers claimed that was going to be inefficient and advised to use steam power. But where would they get their very first steam engine? Introducing the Aveling and Porter Company. Introducing the Aveling and Porter Company, a private company that manufactures steam rollers and steam engines and steam traction engines. But they never tried of designing a steam engine for railway use. A small traction engine designed for railway usage. The ending result was a Aveling and Porter 220WT. The engine arrived at the railway on 1879 and was straight to work, working its hardest and its fast pace of transporting goods. The railway was completed in 1880. The workmen built a shed for 220 and built another shed to hold wagons, but later to hold railway coaches in case of any inspections. The downside of the route was a short, steep hill, and it was quite steep for even the biggest of engines at the time, and it would barely just make it. A mixed-made shed for the coaches was made by the village people to prove that they could build better than the workers themselves. It was proven, but the shed was very unsafe, so support beams were added to make it more safer. The railway opened on December the 7th of 1880, and after New Year's Eve, work on the railway rapidly increased out through the years. In 1883, it was clear they needed a new steam locomotive to help out move the wagons down and up the line. But all of that will have to wait. In 1885, under Ezekiel nose, Lima was secretly planning to build a project called Project Port, while keeping it as quiet as possible from Ezekiel. The secret soon to be spoiled when the workers went on strike for being underpaid and not having enough equipment. Ezekiel soon sorted out the situation and torn into Lima about not telling him about Project Port, and had to put it on hold. For now, there was only 2 sidings and a workman hut for storage. Until they had enough funds to do so, they could build a better port soon. In 1893, the village people had enough of the railway. The goods was always and mostly late and never on time, and most of the workers were stressed and getting overworked. The railway's engine, who the village people have called Kalex after the Caledonian Railway, went on strike with the quarry. Until something was fixed, work wasn't going to resume, so traffic was on a hold until Lima could find another engine. After 2 years of searching, Lima finally found an engine, a Caledonian Railway 262 class called Ralph. Now, Ralph was experienced with all kinds of trains. He was also the only engine that was inexperienced. So the railway bit the bullet and bought Ralph, and Ralph was still alive at the railway in 1895.